Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Lauren. I'm a biosecurity officer and dog handler for Environment Canterbury, and I've got a detector dog, Archie, who I've trained to detect Chilean needlegrass. So yeah, I'll just give you a quick rundown on how we've used them for Chilean needlegrass and how that's kind of helped our search efforts in Canterbury. So dogs obviously have a much better sense of smell than us humans. They've got about 300 million scent receptors in their nose compared to 5 million in us humans. So to kind of put that into perspective, um, they can detect 1 teaspoon of sugar in 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So their sense of smell is pretty good. And as most of you probably already know, they're already used to sniff out cancers and drugs and explosives and even things like seizures. And they're also already used for biosecurity purposes, mainly at the border, but they can also be used to detect pests that are already in the country, like Chilean needlegrass. So this is Archie. He is a border collie who's fully certified through the Conservation Dog Program, and that's run by the Department of Conservation. Basically, that means we've had to do a lot of training and set a series of tests to prove that he can actually find his target species, but also ignore other distractions like sheep, which is it's pretty hard for a border collie to do sometimes. So yeah, he's trained to detect Chilean needlegrass and great willow herb, which are both invasive plants. There are a couple of other dogs in the country trained on other weeds, but he's currently the only dog in New Zealand that's certified to find Chilean needlegrass and great willow herb. So at finding he's really good at finding the smaller plants that are really hard for us to spot. So obviously for us, we're relying on eyesight to spot plants, but dogs use a much greater sense of smell. And this is really useful when we come to plants like CNG, which as we know is really, really tricky to spot, especially if it's not seeding. And so they're really useful for when plant numbers are low, such as surveillance work. So searching an area where plants haven't become established yet, or if we're down to the final few plants to eradicate in an area. So as we know, Chilean needlegrass is really tedious and difficult to find, especially when it's not seeding, it just looks like other grasses. And so because of this, most of our search is done in summer when it has that visible purple seed. And this means we have a really small window for control. So Archie doesn't rely on the seeds to find Chilean needlegrass, so he can find plants year round. So yeah, our window for control just becomes a lot larger, which is really handy. Oh, I think I went too far. Oh yeah, you can see in the picture there, yeah, he's found a little tiny Chilean needlegrass plant with just a couple of leaves, and you probably wouldn't find that if you were just walking by. So using a dog can really boost control efforts to make sure all plants are removed from an area, not just the more easily seen seeding ones. So since using Archie, I've found that where there are seeding plants, there are usually at least kind of twice that number in non-seeding plants. And the non-seeding plants are really difficult to find, especially when they are tiny. So if we're just relying on the visible seed, we're potentially missing a larger proportion of plants that may just not have yet started to seed. So here you can see some larger seeding plants that have been marked with flagging tape. And yeah, they're not too difficult to see because they're bigger and they've got all their seeds on display. But for every seeding plant like that, there are usually many more smaller ones like these ones lurking nearby. Still growing, but just extremely easy to miss. You can kind of make out the green leaves there, but yeah, real tricky to find. And yeah, these are the ones that'll keep popping up even after you've really hammered a site and you reckon you've controlled everything you can see. If you're not kind of checking those sites regularly, it's these little plants that are the ones that'll sneak through and kind of set you back. So a good example of that was maybe back a couple of months. We had some biosecurity officers go to a known Chilean needlegrass site in Canterbury just to check for plants. And they searched the area and they found a total of 5 plants. And then we went back a couple of weeks later, and this time we brought Archie along to help us find any plants that we may have missed. And we went through the same area and this time found a total of 50 plants. And the majority of those plants were really small seedlings with no seeds and just really hard to find without a dog. So by having a dog, we have a much better chance of controlling all the plants on the property rather than just the ones we can more easily see. Yeah, so I've been recording Chilean needlegrass numbers at one site in mid-Canterbury. It's still pretty early days. I've only got 2 seasons of data so far, and we know that plant numbers can vary depending on the growing season and a whole range of other factors, but kind of gives you a general idea. The 2022 season before using a dog, which is shown in purple on the graph, yeah, we found 480 plants at this particular site. Then in the following year was the first year we'd used Archie, and we found 1,071 plants, which was the highest number that we have recorded at the site. And the majority of those plants were really small. This season was our second year using the dog, and we found 464 plants. So obviously 2 years isn't really enough to draw any strong conclusions, but it'll be pretty interesting to keep tracking the site, I think, over the next few years, just to see if the dog's work does help bring the numbers down, especially since the site's been really stubborn to manage over the years. Yeah, I thought I'd just add a few slides of plants that I wouldn't have found without Archie. So yeah, you can see some tiny plants that he's found on the left and right. I do like to think I'm pretty good at spotting plants by now, but there's been so many times where I've been out with him and walked right past them, and he's indicated. And when I say indicated, that's basically the behaviour when he shows when he's found a plant. So for Archie, I've taught him to bark when he finds a plant. And yeah, I've just got a wee video of him barking just so you can see what he looks like. I don't know if it'll play or if we'll just see. Sorry if it doesn't work. Cool, I don't know if that worked or not, but basically, yeah, when he's found a plant, you definitely know about it because he tells us with this.
Yes, it's working, Laura. Just it's a bit disjointed.
A bit glitchy.
Yeah.
Thought it might be. Thank you. I'll just move on. Yeah, and here's just another picture of some Chilean needlegrass that Archie's found that's been hidden in another type of grass. So again, really tricky to spot. And this is another one with a really tiny Chilean needlegrass hidden in the picture. So I'll see if you can spot it. I don't know if the screen's big enough for you to see, but I'll give you a few seconds. You know, zoom in a little bit and see if that helps. And then, yeah, so here you can kind of see like a couple of little blades just poking out of the ground, but even zoomed in, it's super tricky to see. And this is what I grubbed out. So yeah, he's managed to sniff that out in a tiny patch of dirt with just a couple of leaves poking out. And when they're that small, it can be really hard to tell if it's Chilean needlegrass or not. I reckon I've gotten pretty good at identifying it now, but I'll still periodically take plants into land care research just to get them formally ID'd. That's kind of like my quality control check to just make sure we're still correctly identifying the right plants, especially when they do get that small. So yeah, basically in summary, dogs are great. They improve our chances of finding plants, especially when plant numbers are low. They help us find plants when they're not seeding, meeting a wider window for control, and they can help boost our control efforts. So more plants are controlled that may have otherwise been missed. And that was my...
Lauren, I just wonder if you just talk a little bit about you know, not the attention span, but the time periods that you use him. Like he can't be used like a tractor. He can't go all day. He can't go all day doing this work. So talk a bit about that, maybe.
Yeah. It's quite intensive searching. So, you know, if you see him working, he's sniffing and he's sniffing hard. So it's not something that we can just go out and do 8 hours solid searching. We generally do maybe 45 minutes or so, then have a bit of a break, and then carry on, and then do a bit more, have a bit of a break. But to get like a solid 8-hour day of sniffing just isn't realistic for this type of plant. So he's kind of got to be used in conjunction with other things. But yeah, it can be done. But yeah, like Noel said, it's not, a one-stop shop. You can't just set your dog out to work all day. And that's something we've kind of built as well. You can build the search times and get that duration longer and longer, but you've still got to keep the dog engaged and liking the work, because you can't just be a slave driver. If your dog's not enjoying it, it's not going to be doing a very good job. So